I love a good Western just as much as I love any film, to be honest with you. And Westerns are a weird thing for me because I definitely gravitate towards science fiction and fantasy, but I did grow up reading Louis L'Amour novels. The Sacketts hold a very close place in my heart, and I loved. If you've never watched the made-for-TV miniseries they did of the Sacketts, I want to say it was late 70s, early 80s with Tom Selleck and Sam Elliott, and oh, it's so good. And those guys went on to do multiple Louis L'Amour novels over the years. I mention that only to say that I have a long-running like of the Western genre. I grew up watching all the John Wayne films, like with anybody else, Clint Eastwood films. And in modern times, there have been some westerns that really strike my fancy and I really appreciate. But it's been a while since I've watched one. And I was doing some browsing the other day looking for something for Cris and I to watch, and I came across this movie called Appaloosa, which I believe is, I want to say it was 2000. I'm gonna go look it up real quick because I haven't even looked. I think it's 2000. It was 2004 or 2008. Let me look real quick because I didn't even have this pulled up, which is really unprofessional of me for my review here. 2008. So this is post Lord of the Rings, Viggo Mortensen, along with Ed Harris, who everybody knows. He's been around a long time as well. Um, it's directed, I believe it directed by and written by. Let me double check this. Co-written by Harris and Robert Knott, and directed by Harris as well as starring Harris. So Ed Harris was the guy behind this. It's his film, directed it, co-wrote it, starred in it, and Viggo is here as his backup. Now, this film, it is a fun Western. It has, especially in the early parts of the film, like the first maybe hour or so, it's very much sort of like a buddy sidekick, dry comedy style. But then it gets into some more tropey stuff later on. So, I wouldn't call this the best Western I've ever seen. It's an enjoyable Western film, and I want to talk about that a little bit here today. If you're first time watching one of my videos, like, subscribe, hit the bell icon so you never miss an update. I do movie reviews along with TV shows and all the gaming stuff that I do here on the channel. This is one of the things I like to throw these movie reviews out as once in a while as sort of a curveball for people who are like, wait a second, I thought you were only doing gaming. It's like, no, I do a lot more than gaming. So check out all the playlists. We do lots of stuff. Daily streams at 8 a.m. Central here and on Twitch. So the core of this is that Ed Harris's character plays this, essentially a paladin of virtue and justice, right? He's this guy who believes that the law is the law, but he also has this dark side of him where he likes to beat people up and he likes to shoot people, but he does it under the guise of I'm a marshal. That's how I get away with it. And Vigo is a more sort of worldwide. He knows what he is. He knows that he's just a gun for hire, and he realizes that the badge just allows him to do what he likes to do, which is taking people out. And it allows him to do that under the guise of the law. And he has no pretenses that he's anything other than that character. He's not a bad guy. He definitely fights on the side of good, but he appreciates the violence a little more than he probably should. Renée Zellweger is here as well as the romantic interest, and we have Jeremy Irons as the bad guy. Jeremy Irons plays the big bad ranch owner who came here from England or whatever and has this property, and his guys are roughing up local townsfolk. The previous sheriff comes in, says, I got to take your guys in. They did some bad stuff, and Jeremy Irons' character's like, screw you, you're not taking my guys in. Boom, 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 kills the 3 deputies and marshals, and then these guys show up to take care of this. And through the course of the events, they end up arresting the guy, and then there's, trying to get him to trial, trying to get him to be hung, and then everything that happens in between with all the guys coming after him, and there's gunfights and all sorts of other stuff. Now, this film had a lot of good stuff in it. A lot of fun action sequences, gunfights, just stoic, Western characters doing stoic Western guy things. However, there was one part of this film that took me out of it, and it is the ridiculousness of Renée Zellweger's character as this sort of like you start off thinking that she's some damsel in distress when she shows up in town, and Ed Harris's character is immediately Twitter-pated. Like he just stops being able to talk. He stops being able to like he just loses it. He's like, "Oh my God, she's so pretty, and I just can't." And it felt a little tropey to see like here's this normally badass character who just suddenly can't speak around women. Um, he's had women before, but he can't speak around her, and he just loses all of his marbles whenever she's in the room, and he just can't help it. And falls in love with her, and turns out that she's not a nice lady. She is very open to many types of relationships, and she gets around. And he comes to the realization that basically what happens is she just has to be with whoever is like she has to be with whoever is the top dog of the moment. And he comes to this realization that he's okay with that. He just has to try to figure out how to maintain his position as the top dog, and that way he can have her for as long as he's able to. But he's an older gentleman, and he knows that, and she's much younger. And so, like I said, there's some tropey stuff in here. And for the modern viewers who are coming into this in a post-Me Too world, this movie might seem problematic to some people because where's the diversity? Where's the equality? You have to realize that there wasn't diversity and equality in those times. It was very much a man's world. Men were men and women were second-rate citizens, property of men, meant to be, cook clean and put your legs up, honey. Like that's your role. And so some people might view this and say, well, it's so backwards. And it's like, well, it's accurate, compared to the times they were living at the time. But her character just felt over the top, and I felt like the relationship that Ed Harris has with her is over the top because it's like it's so obvious that she's not right for him, and yet he's falling for her anyway. And through it all, Viggo's character sees through it, and he's like, boss, like she's not a nice lady. And of course, boss man, it takes him forever to realize that she's not the paragon of virtue that he thought she was. And that plays out in somewhat comedic ways throughout moments of the film, but it also felt to me very annoying. So at the end of the day, when I watched this film with Chris, we both came away going, this is a very enjoyable movie. The good guys do win in the end. They get the bad guy. There's, death on either side. Right, great shootouts and everything else. The costumes are on point. I would say, Ed Harris, when he is doing his Ed Harris thing, is really good. It felt a little forced when he's getting all Twitter pated and stuff. Viggo was, in my mind, Viggo is the star of this film. Even though he's not the star, he's the supporting role. He's good. I mean, just Viggo's good in everything he does. So is Ed Harris, by the way. I love Ed Harris. I'm not disparaging Ed Harris in any way. I just felt like those moments were a little, yeah. Quick commercial break, everyone, to celebrate and give thanks to all of these amazing people who keep me on the air full time. Really appreciate the support. All you got to do is join as a member. You get access to private videos. You can also do super thanks on any upload or super chats and stickers on any live stream or premiere you see. And beyond that, don't forget we're multi-streaming over on Twitch now, so you can support over there as well. Thanks so much to everybody. Let's get back to the video at hand. But Viggo's character steals the show, especially as this, 8-gauge shotgun wielding dude who's always got this massive shotgun over his shoulder. And he just walks around town with it all the time. And he has a relationship with the town whore, one of the town whores. And it is what it is, and by the end of the film, he goes off on his own way and leaves Ed Harris to hopefully be the top dog for as long as he can to keep the woman at his side. It was an enjoyable film. It does have its flaws. If I had to give it a rating out of 1 out of 10, I would probably give it a 7. There were moments when the writing was a little The acting was good for the most part, other than the Twitter-pated romance things were sort of felt out of place. I think this would have been had they done a darker tone. I think this would have been a different movie. I'm trying to think of the one. I'm going to go look it up right now. I'm pretty sure Kevin Costner directed it, but it's one of the ones he did in more recent years. Open Range. This is the one I'm thinking of. If you haven't watched Open Range, it's with Costner and Robert Duvall, and it's another type of Western where one of the lead guys falls in love with a woman, but it felt more realistic in that sense. It was less forced. That's a very good movie if you've not watched Open Range, by the way. I've seen that probably 4 times now. It's a great Western movie. I would watch this again. It was a fun ride, even though it was kind of a short film. Not a lot of depth going in here. It's a very simplistic story. But if you just want a quick sort of a fast food restaurant type of Western to satisfy your craving. You could do a lot worse than this. 7 out of 10. Enjoyable film. Love to hear your thoughts. If you haven't already watched it before, drop them down below. Like, subscribe, hit the bell icon, and stay tuned for the next one. Till then, everybody, stay safe. Happy viewing.